The very catacombs of Ravenloft quivered under the thunderstorm that has enveloped the castle. The echoes of battle resonated in between stone crypts and down shadowy hallways. From deep within the bowels of the castle, Strahd's bestial bellows, the scrape of claws upon armor, and the ring of steel reverberated all throughout as the climactic battle raged on. The holy symbol of Ravenkind, held aloft by Takar of Boros, shined bright as sunlight seared away every shadow and sent Strahd reeling back in pain. Each strike of the Sunsword left deep burns upon his weakened form, and the combined might of our heroes cornered the Lord of Barovia as they united for one final strike. As the Vampire Lord grew fatigued from battle, his movement slowed, and with a strike of his great axe, D'Artagnan exposed Strahd's defenses as Arc charged up a spell at the tip of his staff of power. A flash of ice blue energy burst forth from the staff, and a whirlwind of cold gust closed its grasp upon the Vampire Lord, freezing him in place in a thick layer of clear frost. A final cry escaped Strahd's throat as he froze solid. From somewhere high above, the bells tolled for the devil. Thunder shook the walls of the castle as Strahd's expression betrayed surprise at his approaching end. Surprise turned to rage. Rage turned to fear. Fear turned to acceptance. The frozen statue shattered into 1,000 pieces, and from within, the mists of Ravenloft burst into a hellish flame, burned by the sunlight throughout. Strahd von Zarovich, Lord of Barovia, is no more. You all take a moment to reflect on your heroic victory. Many were lost in the fight to liberate Barovia from the devil, and yet many more were saved. Sheathing your weapons, you ascend out of those wretched depths of the castle, with Irina Kalyana's corpse held aloft in your arms. Ismark follows, sunken in sorrow over the loss of his sister, but hope can be seen in those eyes. Now that the devil is vanquished, his people are free to escape the mist and the gloom of his cursed land. On the highest peaks of the castle, where the clouds part and give way to god rays and newfound sunlight, you set Irina's body down upon a pyre and say your last goodbyes to the last victim of Strahd von Zarovich. As Ismark lights the flames, Irina's pyre begins to shine with newfound light. From her bloodied, dusted lips escapes a wisp of light. It soars from the fire and hangs at the threshold of the ethereal, beckoning your eyes to follow her skyward. As Tatiana's spirit ascends out of the depths of nightmare, it weaves through the air toward Ravenloft's overlook. There, shining brightly, the spirit of Sergei von Zarovich extends out his hand to embrace his love. The two clasp one another in intertwined embrace, and in the somber, blessed moment, they vanish toward the heavens, freed at last. In the days that follow, Barovia would enter a new age of renaissance. Ismar Kolyanovich will take his seat as the burgomaster of the valley. The people of Barovia, whose souls were spared from eternal damnation, will forever remember the names and legends of our fine heroes. Those who dared brave venture beyond the now unveiled borders of the valley would live on, passing the story of Sir D'Artagnan, Arc, Sparrow, and Takar down the ages. With the Lord of the Land vanquished, Castle Ravenloft will remain a dreaded place, but Strahd's undead servants and thralls will finally regain control of their lives. Esther, who was spared a fate worse than death, would go on to explore the world and embrace his immortality as a curse no more. Granui, the rat apothecary, would flee deep into the forest, to live his wretched life in the wilds and perfect his art of capturing the very memory of man in scent. Gertrude, freed from Strahd's control, will return home to Burberg, to her mother, and together they would join those who would brave escaping the land of Barovia. With the prophecy fulfilled, Madame Eva and her Vistani will unite in an exodus, loading their caravans and moving on to greener pastures to aid others in unwinding the strings of fate. With the fanes restored, the land prospers and blooms once more. Bleak forests and bald mountains rejuvenate as nature finds a way. The shrines seep their power back into the land. Strahd's hold on the night creatures will fade in time, restoring the natural cycle back to the Svalich woods. In time, Whiteclaw and her pack will disappear to the north, where the wild hunting lands will serve them and their litter for years to come. The swamp of Barretts will become a lush marsh full of life, with lizard beasts and other creatures finding respite in this green heaven. The ruins of the village of Krashk will crumble away, burying the dead and the memory of battle in eternal repose. Yester Hill will forever serve as the beacon of Slackish's newfound divine power. A new tribe will rise as the mountain folk return from their exile and establish a new order dedicated to the worship of the Ladies Three. The town of Valakai, now liberated from the iron grip of tyrant burgomeisters, will be ruled by a just union and court led by Stella Watchter. Along her side, the Keepers of the Feather will continue to operate in the shadows to battle any evil that may threaten the people. Those soulless husks who knew nothing but dread and fear all their lives will join in a final march past the borders of Barovia. As they would pass the threshold of their prison, one by one, each would fade away from the Shadowfell, free to know peace at last. With Barovia delivered, the Abbot of St. Markovia will return to the pearly halls of Boros in Ravnica to be welcomed by his fellow angels and be redeemed from his sins. The shining beacon of Argynvostholt marks the final resting place of the Order of the Silver Dragon. In time, it will be restored to forever host the Pearl Bark Rowan and the holy waters at its roots. And what of our heroes? The black truth must be faced, for some are too far gone to ever see the light. The haunched, fanged monstrosity that is Ark will never again know the light of day. In time, the aberration will make its journey back to the Ember Temple. There, in those cold, dark halls, Ark would be welcomed by Exathanter, the Lich, and in time, Ark will succumb to the darkness. For his hunger for power is insatiable, and the dark powers need a new plaything now. Sir D'Artagnan and his new consorts will establish a new seat of power deep within the realm of dread, deep within the halls of Ravenloft itself. With the memory of his family fading to the darkness within him, the mighty D'Artagnan will spend ages pondering his choices, and in that bittersweet truth, he will realize his oath of vengeance is finally fulfilled. But at what cost? The hellish knight and his hounds will be feared and celebrated, and the price he paid for victory will be forever branded in the pages of Barovian history, as he will be remembered as D'Artagnan, the Fallen. Sperovir, the child of the White Dragon, now one with the evasive one's wraith inside, would part ways with the Platinum Cadre to walk his own path. With his newfound powers, in time, he would track down those who butchered his parents. He would find them in the dead of night, in their homes, in their most vulnerable states. They would never see him coming. Whether this vengeance would quench Sparrow's sorrows remains to be seen, but the boy can rest knowing that no child of dragon will ever suffer his fate again. Takar Greathand will fulfill his promise to an old friend. On the shores of Daggerford, by the marble temple of Bahamut, Takar would finally open that letter. He would reflect upon those bittersweet words and spend dusk reminiscing the memory of the man that was Vladimir Horngard. He would pour out an urwer for his friend and spread those ashes in the wind. He would leave that beautiful place, and with a plane-shifting flash, will return to his people in the Boros district of Ravnica, and be commended for a job well done. Takar would go on to be known as the most successful Whiteclaw crawler breeder, opening his own tavern with menu items named after the heroes whom he will remember always. And thus concludes our tale as we turn the last page of the final chapter. But do you wish to know the truth? Do you dare ask for the truth, though it might break your hearts? So be it. Months would pass in Barovia, months of peace, months in which Barovians knew what joy and hope could feel like. All would be well, until it wasn't. For men can sense the ill wind when it blows, don't you know? They can hear it, they can feel it in their very souls and carry it as a weight in their hearts. The days would shorten, the skies would grow darker, the rain would kick up a foul mist in the morning that would not leave until dawn. And there would finally come a day when the sun did not shine over Barovia, but from behind a grey shroud, like a creeping claw, the mists would rise again to snatch Barovia by the throat. For the curse of Strahd cannot be so easily ended, you must see. The dark powers that lie imprisoned in the nighted depths of the earth will not allow it. They will not allow it, oh no, for Strahd is the darkness that sustains them. Strahd von Zarovich is their plaything evermore, cursed to run along the wheel of time again and again and again. His return is but another black beginning for Barovia. And the devil? The devil remembers his death. His revenge is quick and savage. Those that saw to his end would go screaming to theirs. Some would escape, hiding among the sheep and away from the wolves, plotting their next move, plotting, praying. And for those that left, for those heroes that left Barovia, there would come a day when they would wake to a letter at their doorstep, no matter where in the world they were, a letter sealed in a familiar wax, a letter that invites them to dine at Castle Ravenloft once more as honored guests of Strahd von Zarovich. With his dark rebirth, the mists would surround the valley once more, carving it away from the world. The souls of the dead would never find an ever after, forced once again to live and die and live again in this hell. The Vistani would return, Madame Eva at the helm. The beasts of the land would fall under Strahd's spell, while the burgomeisters fortify their settlements, praying to a dead god that someone, anyone, can once again save them from the curse of Strahd.